Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I thought that I had it all figured out on this YouTube thing, and apparently I didn't. Some of you tuned in early, and you might have heard me on a hot mic. We'll talk about that another time. Let's just say it's going to be for the blooper reel of my career. At any rate, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's lovely to have you all here. You may have noticed we have a slightly different setup tonight. We've been working on some lighting issues and all kinds of things like that so that the big glasses that I wear will be less reflected on. You may also notice that Arthur is not here tonight. He received another offer from another network, as they used to say, and so he'll be appearing at the Kol Shir Shalom Tikvat Ami synagogue from now on. Unfortunately, he won't be with us. No, I'm kidding, of course. What I want to do is say Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I will be doing my best to put your greetings up on the screen as I have been. Arthur is here. He's simply in a different position as I am, and we will be starting as we do every week with some music. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your perseverance with our technical difficulties. And let's begin with Ma Tovu. Now, I would like to invite Arthur up. He'll be lighting our candles. You won't really be able to see much other than his hands. But I think that's the way he likes it, off camera. He's been promoted to executive producer and showrunner. He's also unpaid talent, so.
Baruch haor ba'olam, Baruch haor ba'adam, Baruch haor b'shalom, b'shalom, Baruch haor, Baruch haor, b'Shabbat.
Just a reminder, as we go through our service, please, if you have anybody to whom you are wishing well, or somebody who's ill, please let me know. Just indicate it in the chat box. You do need a Google account, by the way, or a YouTube account, same thing, in order to chat. Some of you have asked why you can't see each other. And on top of that, we are also happy to accept people putting in Shabbat greetings, and we'll put those on the screen. And of course, if you have someone you're remembering, please let us know that too, and I will try to get those into our memorial portion at the end of the service. I'm also going to adjust my mic a little bit. I think that might help. We continue a reading for gratitude. A sense of gratitude is fundamental to our well-being, even as we remain aware that there is no address to which we can address it. At times like this, Shabbat can remind us that even in unsure and fearful circumstances, we retain the ability to feel awe, joy, and a sense of community. For the grandeur of the universe, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, we embrace gratitude. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and seasons, we embrace gratitude. For human community, our past and future hope, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility or oppression, in times of crisis or peace, we embrace gratitude. For the innumerable deeds of loving kindness which continue even as we are physically apart, we embrace gratitude. For the skill and dedication of caregivers, of nurses and doctors and technicians and researchers who work around the clock to heal, we embrace gratitude. For all the joys that living brings, for resilience in the face of great difficulties, for the caring hearts of loved ones and friends, we embrace gratitude.
תקוותי, תקוותי בי, איפה כוחי, כוחי בי, וגם בך, וגם בך, איפה כוחי, כוחי בי, וגם בך, וגם בך. Where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me. And in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me. And in you, and in you.
This week, in my newsletter commentary, I wrote about the undeclared National Day of Reason that humanists and other secular people have promoted for several years now here in the United States. This week's unofficial celebration of secularism and reason was contrasted, as always, with the President's declaration of the National Day of Prayer. In these days of pandemic, the declaration was even more ridiculous and divisive than usual. And I don't mean that just for non-theists. If you were looking for signs that our nation's religious right continues to fight for the definition of America as a Christian nation, it was all laid out right there. From the opening reading of a New Testament verse to the lamentation about how Americans are, quote, unable now to gather together in fellowship with our church families, the declaration was not merely religious and theistic, it was profoundly Christian. The declaration also talks about seeking God's wisdom, strength, and healing hand, and God's power to lead our nation ahead to brighter days, and how prayer guides and empowers our nation that all things are possible with God. When I hear these kinds of statements from a government that continues to politicize, bungle, and otherwise incompetently stumble through this crisis, I am reminded ever more of the importance of a day of reason. Consider the contrast presented by the proposed resolution for a day of reason. It recognizes the central importance of reason in the betterment of humanity. It notes that the application of reason has been the essential precondition for humanity's extraordinary scientific, medical, technological, and social progress since the modern Enlightenment. It reminds us that reason provides vital hope for confronting the environmental crises of our day, including the civilizational emergency of climate change, and for cultivating the rule of law, democratic institutions, justice, and peace among the nations. And in contrast with the day of prayers declared hope that we all should come together and pray to the Almighty that through overcoming this coronavirus pandemic, we develop even greater faith in His divine providence, the Day of Reason resolution reminds us of a few things that fundamentalist Christians would like us to forget, namely, that irrationality, magical thinking, and superstition have undermined the national effort to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, and that reason is fundamental to creating an effective, coordinated response to beat the virus involving the federal government, the states, and the scientific and medical communities. The organized Jewish community, for a variety of reasons, has always been reticent to address decades-long appropriations of the social, and more to the point, political usurpation of power by religious fundamentalists in this country. Rabbi Wein was a pioneer in opposing the moral majority and its ilk back in the 1980s, founding the Voice of Reason as an alternative. But other Jewish organizations have consistently hidden behind their self-interests, even as private Jewish individuals have been at the forefront of promoting the separation of church and state. Jewish communal inaction today continues for a variety of reasons, ranging from a desire to build prestige through interfaith coalitions that frequently do not represent wider Jewish attitudes or interests, to their newfound love affair with Christian Zionists. Meanwhile, even as fundamentalist Christians are shrinking as a share of the U.S. population, their political power has continued to grow, and so does their creativity. They have, for example, increasingly perverted the idea of religious liberty, reframing it as blanket governmental support for whatever dangerous nonsense they want to push on the rest of us, be it public prayer and state-sponsored religious symbolism, restrictions on reproductive freedom, conversion therapy and other anti-LGBTQ discrimination, science education, or during this crisis, quarantine exemptions for religious gatherings. That's some list, and it's just a sample. In conjunction with the National Day of Reason, a large group of non-theistic organizations, including the Society for Humanistic Judaism, have banded together to sponsor the Secular Week of Action, actually 10 days this year, and we're right smack in the middle of it now. Well, actions are a little bit more challenging these days, but I want to suggest at least one in particular, and that is to support a new and growing organization, Jews for a Secular Democracy. This group, led by humanistic Jews, but supported by Jews of any or no affiliation, is the first explicitly Jewish group, of which I'm aware, to explicitly take on as its cause the fight to rebuild the wall between religion and government. Why a specifically Jewish group? Because, like every other group, Jews have their own history and experiences to draw upon when we seek to promote causes in the wider public interest. Whether one is a believing or secular, non-theistic, humanistic, Jewish communities have seen what happens when governments favor religion over non-religion. It always devolves into the favoring of one religion over all others. Yesterday's declaration of the Day of Prayer is a good reminder of that. It reflects Christian values, quotes Christian scriptures, refers explicitly to church Christian fellowship. This is a warning to religious believers of all stripes. When you enjoy rights and privileges granted to believers over non-believers, do not be surprised when your rights and privileges are trampled upon because you are not part of the correct religion. Once again this year, Congress failed to take up or recognize the National Day of Reason. It is yet another reminder of our civic responsibilities as secular and non-theistic Jews to speak up for our values. I urge you to pay attention next year and lobby your own representatives to take action on what will undoubtedly be another attempt in 2021 to recognize this day. In the meantime, I encourage you to support the efforts of all the organizations working to build a secular American society. Among those, of course, is Jews for a Secular Democracy, and I've included their website beneath this video. We continue now. Oops, let me just get my papers together. With a reading that is inspired in our own distinctly non-theistic and humanistic way by the book of Deuteronomy. Let us strive to lead loving, compassionate lives with our hearts, with our wisdom, and with our actions. These are the ideas that we inscribe in our innermost heart. May we practice them day and night, teaching them diligently to our children through our words and especially through our deeds, so that the next generations learn to revere and to celebrate life. Some of you are, and I'm putting them on the screen, are asking about Arthur. Arthur's just fine, but when we relocated to this part of the room, we could not relocate the table. We're in a corner here. So he's helping with all kinds of technical stuff. It was not his fault what happened earlier, though. I will point out that was all on me, including the hot mic. If you were fortunate enough to hear me drop those, well, let's just say, not suitable for Spinoza program words, but he's very much here. He lit our candles earlier in the service. All right, so as we go into the continuation of our service, I want to share something with you that I normally don't have the opportunity at Temple to share in quite this way, and that is a video. And the video is of a reading we do, and I won't say any more, but this is our reading tonight for peace.
Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Na'aseh shalom, shalom ba'olam. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh shalom, shalom ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom.
In this community where we find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward all those who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who suffer pain of the body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. Tonight, we extend our well wishes to these members of our community and to their loved ones. To Gail Gotthelf, Cece Stone, Joan Mann, Patty Becker, Titus Mendel, Lonnie Fleischer, Larry Fisher, Jennifer Breen, Alan Mish, Greg Lowenthal, Anne-Marie Kersniak, Barbara Sugarman, and from Jamie Hines in Scotland to Marianne McIntyre and her daughter, his cousins. May all who suffer know that they are not alone. May they be healed quickly. May they experience a complete recovery, refuah shlema, the renewal of their bodies and the renewal of their spirits.
Mekom ha'koach betocheinu, Mekorot ha'bracha michevrotenu. May the source of strength that dwells so deep within us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Shalom. Mekom ha'koach betocheinu, Mekorot ha'bracha michevrotenu. May those in need of healing know refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Shalom.
Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every people and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We recall now our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Tonight, our community continues to mourn the loss of our beloved and oldest member, Jack Kaufman, and we send our condolences to Nancy Simpson, whose husband Samuel Simpson died this week. We recall now the yard sites of Bernard Malinsky, Neil Bricker, Henry Liebhaber, Celia DeZoden, Mark Jarris, Rachel Kirstein, Lawrence Klein, Robert Ellis, and Karen Sue Levy. Yehi zichram livracha. May the memories of each of these precious people provide us with a measure of comfort as we go through life in their absence. Just a couple of announcements. We heard just a few moments ago from Carl Sagan in that beautifully broadcast, beautifully edited, I should say, reading of The Pale Blue Dot, one of my favorite, if not my very favorite, readings that we use for peace and to remind ourselves of our place in the universe and just what we're about. His daughter, Sasha Sagan, was scheduled to appear here to speak about her book, For Small Creatures Such as We, back in April. And unfortunately, and obviously, that didn't happen. She is scheduled for the future, an undeclared date, but we hope that we'll be able to time it next spring as we hoped to this spring. In the meantime, to launch our new book discussion group, which will be on Zoom, we will be hosting we'll be featuring a talk or a discussion led by Fran Shore, Professor Fran Shore, a wonderful member and a faculty emeritus at Wayne State University in history, to talk about the book. So if you'd like to be part of that, we are asking that you RSVP to my email, rabbi@birminghamtemple.com. The book is available locally here in Michigan. You can order it through BookBeat in Oak Park. They've graciously told me that they will handle that for us. If you want to go to the big guy, you know who the big guy is and what his website is, Mr. Amazon. It's also an alternative, especially if you have a Kindle, you can get it right away. I highly recommend the book, and I think it'll be a great discussion. It'll be May 24th at 11 a.m. The Zoom link will be included in future newsletters. The password is available to members and to our friends only. If you are one of the friends of the temple and not on our mailing list, you can write to me, and I will be happy to send you that password. The other thing that I wanted to remind people about is that a week from tomorrow night, for our members, both on Zoom and on Facebook Live, so you don't need Zoom software. As Evelyn Krieger, one of our congregants who's watching, mentioned earlier in the program, we will be having our variety show. We have a number of wonderful acts, including some famous folk. We have two incredible players for two symphonies, the Paul's grandson and Glenn Mello, our own violist from the DSO, the Paul's grandson from the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. We have Miriam Shore, the star of, I believe the show is called Younger, and Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and recently appeared in Mrs. America and about 1,000 other things. She'll be making an appearance. Adam Shalom, Rabbi Adam Shalom in Chicago, is juggling, and I've seen it, and it's pretty good. There'll be a lot of other fun things too, and we're hoping that you'll support us through that effort, but mostly just that you'll come together and join us for some fun and some community building over the Zoom program or Facebook. So those are my two announcements. That one is next Saturday at 7 o'clock here in the Eastern Time Zone of the United States. Thank you for your patience during our little bit of a delay. I'm still learning how to use all of this software, and unfortunately, The entire crew consists of me and Arthur, and that's just not enough to produce this kind of thing sometimes. But you guys have been great, and I'm so happy to see so many more people joining every week. And I hope that this gives you just a little bit of a taste of our congregation if you're not a member. And I hope that it makes all of you feel closer to each other. If those of you who are missing our time in the meeting room together, I sure know that I am. So we'll see you all either on one of our upcoming Zoom classes or programs, or next Friday night at 6 o'clock, hoping everything will work. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to conclude with this beautiful adaptation of the Debbie Friedman song, which we call May We Know Peace.
May we know peace as we go on our way. May we be guided by love. May we be possessed of health and joy. May this be our future. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. May this be our future. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. May this be our future. Shalom. May we feel sheltered by the wings of peace. May we abide in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to everyone. May this be our future. Shalom. Shalom.